Hi, my name is Lauryn Posey, and the country that I chose to do my food culture project on is the Danish pastry. So, to start, the country of Denmark is located in Northern Europe. It is above Germany and below Norway. It is composed of over 400 islands, and that's just 400 east of the main island. Um, it's mostly colder weather. Their lakes might freeze and they will experience a little bit of snow, but it does not necessarily drop into the negatives. And they experience rain in the late summer into early fall, which contributes to their marshy lands also being not very high above sea level. And I decided to do the topic on the Danish puff pastry, but it is a huge fishing community just because they are surrounded by so much water. With that, the country is very prideful of their soil. They have very rich soil, and they do have majority, like a good chunk of the land is used for cereals such as rye, wheat, and barley, which kind of goes into the topic that I chose, which is going to be the pastry, which does use wheat. And pictured there is a field in Denmark. It is in northern Denmark. I tried to find out which island it is, but it seems to be a little bit more far and detached. The way that the Danish started was, or essentially how my understanding is the puff pastry started, was a French baker accidentally forgot to add butter, and instead of mixing it in, he decided to fold it in, which resulted in the fluffy puff pastry that we know of today, that is in so many of the European breads and desserts, such as like a croissant is a really good example, which kind of goes hand in hand with the puff pastries and the Danish. So the pronunciation of what in America we call the Danish or the Danish pastry, and I looked up this pronunciation. It's Wiener broth, and it is a little bit more slurred when they say it, though. It is another translation is Vienna bread, but the reason why we call it the Danish is because it did originate in Denmark, but it was not made essentially by Danish people, by the Danes. Um, the Bakers Association in Denmark went on strike in the 1850s. And while they were gone and they needed people to bake, the country decided to bring in Austrian bakers. The Austrian bakers brought in their own techniques, and which is going to be essentially how to make the puff pastries, and they were making their own desserts. But when the Danish bakers came back, they learned the techniques and decided to add their own twist to it, which is um, by adding like the fruits and the creams that we know of today. Also, something to note that Danes in Denmark, they mostly view it as a breakfast product. And even in America, I feel as though we see it as a breakfast product as well. It is typically served as a late breakfast item with a coffee, but they do consume it throughout the whole day, or they have it added as a treat during parties and get togethers. And I call this one the Danes twist, is how I worded this, because they made their own twist on an already existing product that they learned about from the Austrians that came in. And the way that the reason why it's different is because the way that they make their dough, it's a yeast dough, and then they have the butter rolled into the dough, and then it takes 27 layers to make. And the way that they make it is folding in the butter and then rolling, which is very similar to, say, a croissant, but the ingredients do differ a little bit, just a little bit, but it's very similar. Puff pastry is going to be almost all the same. Um, and originally, back in the 1850s, or the 19th century, they added cream, eggs, and fruit jams. And today, that is still common. And a Danish pastry does not need to have a specific shape as pictured here. It just needs to have that dough. And even, I don't think that there is like a sausage between the longer one, but that's also something that like might be common that I've seen as well. But the cream and the berries is still prevalent to this day. And some of the classical fillings that they consider their classics would be vanilla, raspberry, cinnamon, and chocolate. So it is more of a sweeter taste to it. So like, as I've seen people do sausage with it, but it's not going to be as common to them. They consider more of the cream and the eggs, and even, we call it like the cheese Danish, and it's got this kind of creamy stuff in the middle. And that is what we know of today. It's just very niche and specific, and and it was brought to America in it became really popular more so in New York, but we do have a sort of Danish village not too far from here, kind of outside of uh, uh I'm blanking on it, San Luis Obispo and Slow. I wanted to share local recommendations, and there's Olsen's Danish Village Bakery in Solvang. Solvang is gonna have a lot of Danish bakeries in it, and just so many treats related to a lot of the countries around there. And this one too, I believe they ship as well, so you can go to their website and order and have it shipped. But more local, Santa Clara, I believe they have a few locations of croissante, and like they mostly do have croissants and French items, but they do also have like the Danish, and they also too have like I said, the sausage Danish, which isn't as common, but it's still considered like the same dough. And then there is Cocola on Santana Row. They have French and Danish pastries. They also have another location inside of Valley Fair Mall, that you can go to. It's called something else though. It's called like the French Patisserie. Um, but the number one recommendation to me would be to visit Solvang and experience some of the food that they have there. And then these are my citations, and that is it. It's a yummy treat, and I hope you enjoy them.